All right, welcome everybody. Full time single dad show here again. I'm Andreas,
I'm Eric. What's up, guys?
and yeah, what's up? We are here to talk about. Eric and I were talking about some stuff earlier this week, and we kind of came to the conclusion that we're going to talk about the court process. Um, we are going to pay disclosure. We're not attorneys. We're not going to give you any sort of legal advice. Um, consult an attorney. For any um, you know, professional advice that you want. Um, but we are going to kind of give an idea of what we've experienced, and kind of maybe what to expect and what you can do to kind of help make things a little bit easier for yourself. As far as how you process and react. So those are some things that I think um, we'll try to give as much help as we can.
Definitely, man. Because numerous things I went along the way, did my best, but if there was some kind of resource out there, like I went in blind.
Yeah.
So yeah, hindsight's 2020. But if we can help even one single person with what we went through, that like I call it a win. So
I agree. I mean, I mean, so this is going to be, I think, if you're obviously going through, you got served papers, or if you're on the other side, you have to, you're the one that's filing and serving papers, regardless of who serves or who initiates the initial filing. Um, it's it's going to be a very stressful process unless you and your co-parent kind of get along and you guys both come to agreement, have mutual agreement that like this is what we're going to do. You guys have a set schedule, um, and it makes things a lot easier, and you guys are kind of going through it together. In that sense, you'll kind of just pick up the whole process of kind of what works throughout this. Um, and that's very small percentage. I think that
absolutely, man.
that
That is few
do
and far
get that.
between.
Yeah. Hopefully, down the road it gets better, but for the most part, it's very contentious. It's very emotional. It's draining. It's a lot, and um, I think the one thing to say is, on top of going that, having to go through that and having your normal life, work, your job, your career, having your kids to also still be a parent, and you're adding this big giant part on you. Um, if you have the financial means to have an attorney, it does help, um, but it will cost money, and you definitely pay for that sense of, um, I don't know,
Security.
yeah, security, or you pay for that time, so that's less time that you have to do, but you'll still have to write stuff. You're still gonna have to do stuff, even if you have an attorney. There's still work that you're gonna have to do.
Hmm.
Um, so if you're doing it on your own, go to the family law facilitator, and they can help you. They kind of help people go through that. They don't give legal advice, but they can help you fill out the paperwork.
Yes, the
So
key word there is procedural. They have
yes,
to give you procedural advice
yeah,
because they will tell you over and over, I can't give legal advice. And you're
yeah,
like, no, just this is this is the paperwork I have. What's next? Like tell
yeah,
me procedures. And they have to do that. So
exactly. Yeah,
that's the magic word.
yeah. So the first thing, what you're gonna either, if you get served custody papers, divorce papers, uh, it's gonna be an RFO. I know down here it's called a request for order. I'm not sure what it's called up in Oregon or any other state, but here in
It was a
California,
petition, is
yeah, or
like
a
petition
petition.
for custody. Yeah.
Yeah, petition for custody. It's going to be an initial filing, and you will have to respond to that, and you will have to write your like pretty much your side. What you want as a parent, as the other parent, and how you guys are going to schedule out your time with your children, and you know what, and that will work according to each parent's work schedule and life, and how that adjust. And if you guys can't agree, you'll go to a mediator, and they will do what's best for the child and what works for both parties in the middle grounds. Um, that's pretty much how that, in a general procedural way, on the outline of how that process works. Um, there's a lot of details in there
Oh yeah,
that,
that's the rough picture though. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. So another disclaimer is we're not here to air out dirty laundry or badmouth.
yeah,
So if we do talk about things that we have been through, it's in the way of being constructive.
yeah,
So we'll make that perfectly clear.
yeah, yeah. We'll give scenarios. Not only they'll part of them will be from our own experience or other experiences we've heard from other people. I'm not gonna go into like which one it is, but they are like firsthand experiences. So to kind of stray away from you know people seeing these stories, or you're trying to pick out who's who. Um, so when I first started my first custody, it was 2009, and my kid's mom and I split, and she went and filed, and we went to mediation. Um, I I don't remember much because I think it was more in shock, and not that I was in shock that it was happening. Like it already happened. I think it was just still a shock for me. And I just said, yeah, whatever, whatever she wants, she can have, and I just that's kind of don't really remember too much. We didn't go to court. We just went to mediation, and I really didn't learn any of the process. So we had um, custody order, and I didn't really know what it was, like what was in it. I just knew I had time with my kid, and that's it. Um,
How old was your kid?
she was a year and a half at that time.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, she
All
was a
right.
year and a half. She was still pretty little. So usually at that age too, they give they're gonna be mostly with the mom. They're gonna
Oh
be
yeah.
80% around with the mothers, because at that age, either sometimes they could be still nursing, um, whatever it is, they need that time. I agree with that. I agree and I don't agree. Um, I think I think there's a way to maybe add more time with dad in there, but maybe not taking overnight. I think that overnight probably should be with mom, but maybe just more daytime. Um, that's my own personal opinion, because you do want to have that, like you're going the child is going from seeing their dad every day, and then to seeing them 20% for the week, which is what, two days a week. That's a big change, and it's a big um, it really feels alienated
Oh
at
yeah.
times, even though it's supposedly to be for the best. But hopefully maybe down the road there's another way that it could be worked into to be able to give more equal time, but also be able to give the mom the main time that she needs to have to care for an infant, or a toddler at that young age.
Yeah. So you guys settled in mediation then?
Yeah, pretty much. I think it was supposed to go. So after mediation, the judge has to sign off. Sometimes they'll have you go to court. Sometimes they won't. They'll just sign it. I don't remember, but I think yeah, I don't even remember. It wasn't until like 5 years later I filed um, for a change, and we went back to mediation, and it ended up being more of a on paper, more of like a 4 days a week with her and 3 days a week with me. Like I took her Friday, Saturday, Sunday, took her to school Monday. Um, so we did that, but in between there, we kind of just did it as she would give me more time if she needed to, or uh, I think at one time she was finishing school, and I had taken my daughter like 5 days a week for like 3 months. I only work like 2 days a week, so
Hmm.
so her mom can finish school, and I had no problem doing that. It was rough. It sucked, financially, but I mean that was something the better for her mom. This is the least I could do, take that responsibility on, but it didn't reflect it on the custody papers at all. So
Yep. Yeah, I ran into that too, where legal custody can be totally different from physical custody,
yeah,
and that can it can be good for you or bad, just
yeah,
depending. But
yeah, exactly, yeah. And usually they'll do, unless there's something significant or that's going to put the put the children in danger. But usually they're going to give joint legal custody to both parents. I know out here.
yeah,
Um,
as long as both parents agree, you can't
yeah,
force joint onto
yeah,
parents. But
yeah. I'm not sure how it is up there. but usually they do out here. I know they usually in San Diego County, they'll usually try to do for joint custody with both. Both parents have a right to make decisions and they have to agree. Um,
Mhm.
a physical custody is different. You know, they're always going to give more to the mom at the young age, and then depending on the age, um, you know, they'll figure that the other part is as in everybody's circumstances and how they differ.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Got
So,
you.
um,
So,
yeah,
funny
go ahead.
story. My custody battle started right about the exact same time. My son was born November of '09, and he was 2.5 months old when my kid's mom filed. So,
Wow.
um, and yeah, like, I mean, it was kind of crazy, but it was up like boom, boom all at once. And then, so let's see. As far as the process, we tried mediation. She was not having anything. She was not reasonable. Even the mediator could see that. So did another mediation, didn't work out, and then ended up going to trial and doing the full thing. My kid was not nursing then, so the whole mother favoring deal wasn't so much in play. Um, and so she was going for sole custody, no visitation rights. I was going for full with visitation, and we did end up like settling in mediation, like out of court. Finally, like we had to do a couple trials, and
A couple
you know,
hearings. Yeah.
yeah, and it was a process, man. It was the hardest thing I've had to do, honestly.
Yeah.
Really, really stressful. Yeah, I consulted with a lawyer. I was saving money, but I never actually appointed one because it's freaking expensive, man. I had 5,500 saved up, but just it like you're full of anxiety. You're like, what if, because at the
Yeah.
time it was $280 an hour, and I just saw that going up in smoke,
Oh my God.
So because I saw all the time I was putting into it, like I was working full time, and then that was my basically my other job, man. It's custody.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that because that's literally what it is. You know, even when I had an attorney, it still felt like a job because I had to make sure I was giving all the correct information, putting everything in piece and order because they don't know your story.
Yeah, you got to
You know
document
your story,
everything.
and
Like,
you have to really put it together
mhm.
and write things out and structure it and organize it and you pretty much put it in the essay. It's like you're in school almost. You're
Yep,
putting this stuff
yep,
together for them to piece that out and to have an argument, to create an argument for you. Um,
yeah.
so yeah, so I mean, I'm gonna go back to like that whole beginning process. You know, you're gonna go through mediation. You're gonna go through you guys gonna talk to each other.
Oh, you have
Um,
to do a mandatory, like they have classes and stuff that a lot of time they'll line out
oh
for you
really?
too.
They have that up
Yeah.
there? Yeah, they
Yeah.
don't
So
have that here.
there's a mandatory 8-hour parenting class, just like
I think that's a good
how to
idea.
be a parent.
I
And
like that.
like it was so basic. Like
Really?
don't let your kids starve. Like it was silly. But
Don't
but
hang them upside down.
yeah,
Don't
don't shake them. Like it was
Yeah,
silly.
that's ridiculous. Yeah.
But so they had that, and then there's other things that can be lined out too. Um, but there's preliminary things along with mediation. Like they
Yeah.
try to have your ducks in a row for if you do go to trial, you can skip a
Yeah.
lot of the stuff. So
They have a little video, like when you're in mediation that you have to watch. I've seen it so many times, same video, but it does kind of outline like kind of what you're gonna experience, briefly. You know, it's like a 15, 20-minute video or something like that, and it's goes through, like it says, emotional. It goes through it so fast, and it just goes through like the process. Um, but you really don't grasp all of it. Um, I think like one of the takeaways I can take from this is when you go into it, it's such an unknown, and you're stepping into this place, and it feels like I know for me, it felt like everything was closed in, and like almost sometimes it felt like everybody was out to get me, almost at
yeah,
at
yeah.
times.
I mean, exclusively to being a guy, being a dad, like
Yeah,
it is uphill, like in a lot of ways. Like it is sexually
yeah,
biased. Like you are going to deal with a lot of things where it
yeah,
seems like you're against everybody.
yeah,
Honestly.
yeah. If once this process starts, I would say the best thing to do is start kind of straightening life up together. Not to say that yours isn't, but whatever you can do to kind of like show that now there's this big change, you're gonna make some big changes as well for the best.
Mhm.
So previously when you were married or in the relationship, with your partner, your kid's wife or father, uh, or wife, um, whatever it is, your significant other. I would say, if you were maybe heavily drinking or if you guys just regular drinking, whatever that is, I'd kind of take a step back from it. Um,
Yeah, you're gonna be put under a microscope, man.
yeah,
So
you will be under a
and
microscope, and every little thing will pop out and will be
everything.
can be, not say that it will, but little things can be um, used not in your favor.
Yep.
So I would start making those changes as soon as possible. It's going to look better for you, and not only look better, you're going to feel better. Things will be easier, have a little more clarity, because it is going to be stressful, and it's going to be
To say
really
the least,
easy.
man.
Yeah, it's going to be really easy to um, just
Crack.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You will crack. It's going to break you down sometimes, if it's pretty contentious. Um, but
No, I will
yeah,
say, but the whole week leading up to trial, like when we were having our hearings and stuff, I would just dry heave in the mornings. Like I
yeah,
wouldn't eat and I would dry heave, like just straight nerves, bro. Like I
yeah,
was a wreck,
yeah,
freaking wreck, but did it, still
yeah.
did it.
Yeah, I drank for a while, and then when I stopped drinking and I was going through this stuff, um, it was hard. It was hard not to not drink, but it was just like, wow, this is like, it's exactly what you said. Like I wanted to throw up. I was emotionally drained. Um, like
Yeah, and
every
then
little thing just felt like man, like it's like this thing is gonna make a difference. This thing is just gonna make a difference.
oh yeah, yeah,
Um,
definitely.
I
And then the
remember there was
other
time.
factor that I was dealing with is there was a no contact order with my kid's mom, so we
Yeah,
couldn't talk. So there was a lot of just like isolation going on.
yeah,
So you're alone with this sea of shit that you're
yeah,
in.
yeah. And honestly, for mine, I didn't make things easier on myself because I had prior DUIs, so that did not help me at all.
Yeah.
They could have said anything about around drinking, and it was like, well, yeah, of course he has DUIs. So, I mean, if you're in that boat, like that's going to be used against you, and it's going to be
Yep.
something that's going to have to be considered because it is a safety aspect, and unfortunately that's kind of what their responsibility is to make sure that they're making the best choices, for the kids. So those are some things that will come up. Other things, if there's prior police involvement, domestic issues, domestic disturbance, those will
Yep.
be
They look for
brought up.
patterns.
Yep, exactly. They look for patterns. So the best thing you can do is
Cliff note on that though, what I found is and if they're not convicted on anything, then it cannot be used in court.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
for example, if there's something that's exactly fits like your story to conglomerate your story,
yeah.
if they weren't convicted, it has to be thrown out. It
Yeah, and
doesn't
that's
matter.
where
It's
that's
moot.
where
So
an
don't waste
attorney,
your time. Don't waste your time with that.
that's where an attorney, because somebody who doesn't have an attorney and is representing themselves, and the other party
That was me.
has one, yeah,
That
and
was
they
them.
have one,
They
they
did.
have an attorney, and they bring that up, you don't know that can't bring up, so it's just gonna sit there and it's gonna be used because you don't know. So this is why we
Yeah.
say you're gonna have to consult an attorney if some of these things are gonna be brought up. It might be in your best interest,
No, it was just as
because
far as
yeah,
the judge. I had like a bunch of paperwork, but there was no actual conviction.
yeah,
And if there wasn't a conviction, it's moot.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
So
I do know. I've seen it. I've sat there in the courtroom, and I've seen. I've gone through this, so I've sat and watched people, and the other
that's a good
part.
tip, dude.
Yeah,
Like if you're expecting a custody trial, sit into one.
yeah,
That way you're not going in blind. I
yeah.
didn't do that, but
Yeah,
that would be a good thing to do.
getting an idea of like how the whole process works. The whole court. There's a whole language. There's a whole lingo. There's a whole kind of cadence and rhythm to it, um, and kind of like understanding that will help too. That there is. Um, you're going to be impatient and you're going to want to say something, and you're going to look impulsive. So kind of keeping your cool and understanding like how things go will make things easier too and a little more calmer.
Yeah,
Um,
don't react emotionally, dude. Like
yeah,
practice stoicism because yeah.
Yeah, get into therapy with this because it's fucking hard.
Oh yeah.
Like you're gonna need somewhere to fucking vent. Uh,
Yeah.
for
So
sure.
let's talk about, so there's like different entities. There isn't just, say, you got like the family court system. There's other forces involved. For example, Child Protective Services, CPS, they can be involved too if there was any reason to.
Yeah.
Um, and there's child support office. Like there's other entities and branches. Those things don't always work together. You'll find
Yeah,
like they
they
don't
don't.
always. They're not always just like left hand doing the right hand. Like they're not always there.
Yeah,
So
they're all
they kind of act on their own.
yeah.
Is what I
They
found.
they all can be used in a sense, but there's different processes of how to be able to use some of that, some of the documents or evidence or whatever you want to call it, whatever it is, um, into the main part, into the court, into the judicial part. Um,
Yeah, like once you actually have a parenting agreement, then everything kind of chills out because you have something filed that's like legitimate,
yeah,
and everything else like that. That's your card, dude. Like that's your book.
I'd say
But
the easiest thing, if you can, you know, come to an agreement on your own and figure out a plan just to get something, it will make things a lot easier. It will make things smoother down the
yeah,
road if you
mediation
can
can
come
kind of
to.
do that too. Like they'll
Yeah,
do like, so
and
during this process,
that's what
this
the
is what we're
mediator's
gonna
for.
do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the mediator's for that. If you can't agree, they're gonna send you to the mediator, and they're gonna figure out a way. But if you can, if you guys can come to, uh, without going to the mediator, if you guys can come to an agreement or some sort of common ground, that's gonna be your best option.
yeah. I did like Thursday to Sunday
Yeah,
was my schedule, and
yeah,
then
and
yeah, I worked like a Monday to Friday job,
yeah,
so I did experience the amount of like sexual bias so early on with so for example, child support before, like when we were together, like my son was born, and immediately like we get home with him from the hospital, she gets a letter and I get a letter from child again, and nothing was filed, like we were good, like we were
yeah,
family, we were happy, and like um but she gets a letter and it says like, in so many words, it basically says, if you want child support, this is how you get it. And mine was like, give us all your info, like,
for child support.
yeah, like it was
That's
a little
so
odd.
that's really strange just from coming home.
Yeah,
Is it because you guys weren't married? I don't know how that's a thing.
possibly. I put myself on the birth certificate, like I was like voluntarily, like, the father
I,
and everything. I wasn't like,
I wonder if that it's up there, if for up there, if that's because you guys weren't married, so they just send that out. That's really,
it
I've
could
never heard
be,
that.
but I mean it was weird from the start then, and then just like from
I don't
there
remember
it
getting
stayed
anything
weird.
like that out here. It was kind of strange. Like I don't remember anything like that. It was, and I was with my kid's mom. Um, first one, the second one, we weren't together. Um, my son was born, so, but I don't remember anything coming in for something like that. That's interesting. Huh.
Yeah. So then let's see, there was, so custody things. Another thing that I ran into, so there's going to be like paperwork throughout, like before your trial, because like it gets drawn out. Like mine was 11 months long, it was almost a year. But I mean, there's some people I know that are in it for years, dude. Like it gets drug out, and what sucks is if lawyers are involved, they don't
You,
care if it's drug out. Like that's more money for them, man.
yeah.
Like, so it's draining.
And it is just what it really comes down to is just two people who can't come to an agreement, and they're paying other people to try to come to agreement for them, and to try to push their side, their narrative, and to show that they're the ones that are right. That rarely ever works,
Mhm.
unless there's, significant evidence. The judge eventually will see, like, okay, both of you guys are fighting and fighting. I'm going to make this. This is what's going to happen. What is your schedule like? What is your schedule like? This is what it is. I know things are starting to change a little bit more as far as whether they give, dad
Oh, the
has,
favoring. Yeah,
yeah,
like
out here
it's
it
chilling
is.
out. Yeah.
It's definitely chilling out more. It's definitely started to be a little more like um, equal I think when they approach it, they want both parents to, like, okay, both of you guys, figure out a time that works for you, and you guys can um, have equal time. But if you can't, then that's when they kind of start to step in, unless there's You know, then I've heard some of it's fucking bad. Like there's, you know, abuse involved, all aspects of abuse involved in that one. You
Mhm.
know, and yeah, they're just like, yeah, no, and this it's crazy. I mean, when you're sitting in court, you're sitting there and you're hearing all the other cases in front of you, and you're like, well, man, it's not too bad actually.
Yeah.
You know, it's yeah, um,
Yeah. So another thing that I dealt with is that, so going into a custody battle, you think it's just going to be two people. It's going to be him and her, but no. Like a lot of time, families involved, friends are involved. Like a lot of time, it's a clique. It's West Side Story. Like,
yeah, I've had that. Yeah, I've had it where I've had the family always, you know, always there, but I mean, for the most part, they don't really do anything. They sit there, they can't do anything, um, unless
yeah,
they're
but a lot of time you'll see the bias from that too. So just
yeah,
be prepared on that, and
yeah,
that just goes along with the whole theme of
yeah.
it's going to feel like it can be you against the world sometimes,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, there you go.
So
Yeah, yeah. I don't look too much in it. I mean, they're there for support. You know, I would also bring somebody for support for you. Don't
yeah.
be in there by yourself. You know,
Hmm.
bring support with you as well.
Yep, character witnesses and all that. It's good.
Yeah, I didn't do that. Yeah, you can have character witnesses written for you. Definitely do that as well. People that you know closely, people that you worked with, you know, that maybe aren't your family, um, that that could do something like that for you. Write the character witness that've known you for a while, so to show consistency, if
Yeah.
you need to. Um, my second one with my son's mom was a little different. It was a little more difficult going through that one. You know, it went on for a long time, um, and yeah, that one tested me a lot. Um, so there is, yeah, some bias, like you know, with being a dad. Um, it felt like I'd say more. It felt like for me being 6'2" and like 200 plus pounds,
You
and
get profiled, right?
yeah, I kind of felt like it. You know,
Yeah.
tattoos all. I'd cover my tattoos up. You know, that's another thing. Dress nice. Like dress nice. You're going to court. Dress nice. Don't dress like a slob. Don't dress like you got off of work. If you get off of work, like you need to make that day just about court, even if you have to
Hmm.
miss it. You got to show up, dress nice, and be presentable. That's another thing. Do that as well. You know, sidebar on that. Uh, but yeah. Where did I leave off? Fuck.
You said the second one was real hard for you.
Yeah.
Tested you a lot. Um, what would you say was the hardest point?
Oh man, it's all hard because I think for me, at that time I had taken my son full time. Um, so we're kind of going through a lot at the same time because I'd kind of found out he had. It was around that time I found out he had autism. He's on the autism spectrum. So we're kind of going through that whole process, and that alone was hard. Kind of like getting that, you know, bomb dropped on me was like, you know, your son has autism. It's like, oh my gosh, like what do I
Yeah.
do now? What do I do now? I mean, I know I can see it. I can see there's these things. So I was dealing with that. Also doing this on my own by myself, working, and it's the hardest part is honestly trying to just keep life going, staying presentable for my kids, being present for my kids, not presentable, being present for them. And it kind of sucks to say this, and I think this is like a dad thing, maybe not like dad thing, but this, I, you're always trying to feel like you're keeping it together. You know, that's just a parent thing. But yeah, I mean, just like I'm keeping it together, and I wasn't. It was it was hard. It was breaking me all the time, and seeing my son like the how it affected him. That was what was the worst. You know, that's probably the hardest part is seeing it how it affects the kids.
Yep.
That's
That
the hardest part.
spillover, man. Definitely.
It's hard, and there's no easy way about it. You know, both parents want the kids, and
No, I would say hardest time on mine was on my birthday. I got served. It was a request for documents form. So it, like,
Yeah, Discovery.
yeah. So it was like a list of things I needed to produce. So
Yeah.
it was like titles of your cars, check all checks you've written in the last 5 years, like a bunch of just
Yeah,
shit.
that's hard, man.
All pictures with the client.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, how many pictures are you gonna have with your girl after, so long? So yeah, it was a lot. And luckily my work was cool in the way that they let me print for free.
Oh, that's
So
nice.
I went to work. I had my kid, he was a baby, and so I was at my work on my day off, printing out paperwork, like a wreck, a nervous wreck, and doing paperwork. And then I'm dry heaving in the freaking bathroom stall, and my kid is trying to wander out of the stall, and I'm like holding him, like,
Yeah.
stay. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was rough, bud.
That is another thing that you brought up, like all the paperwork that you had to print and the time. Dude, it's a lot. There's no easy way. You have to do it yourself, and you have to learn legal part of it and how this works and do all that work. It's another job. Like, so that's why attorneys, that's their job. That's what they do. So you're pretty much doing somebody else's job on top of doing your job.
Yeah,
So
no, absolutely.
it's something you're gonna have to weigh based on your circumstances. If yours is a little bit easier, you can do it by yourself and it's less contentious. Yeah, by all means. If
I
you
will
want to
say
do
though,
that.
like family law isn't so like jumbled the way that criminal law can be. Like it be another language.
Oh yeah.
Like family law, like yeah, it's got some nuances to it, but like they don't make it where it's impossible that you can't do it yourself.
Yeah.
Like you can trudge through it. It's a lot,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can. It's not like you can't. It's just it's more of a. Um, I think it's more of a convenience.
oh yeah. And then the fact that you're not emotionally invested if you're a lawyer, it's just like that's your job.
Yeah.
You can look at it logically rather than have
Yeah.
any emotion tied to it.
Yeah.
Like that's what's up. You can make the
Yeah.
logical decisions without any
Yeah.
clouding.
And
Like,
that's what you pay for, man. You pay for that.
yep.
And I mean it does help. It does work, man. I honestly, there was a time where I was representing myself, and the other side, there was like one of my kids' moms, they were saying a lot of stuff, and the judge started believing them, and I'm like, dude, like none of this stuff is true, and they brought a supervised monitor on, and the supervised monitor was writing all these like false reports, saying like I'm intimidating, I'm doing all these things.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's yeah, and they're not over. There's no oversight of supervised monitors, and the supervised monitor was for her.
Were they in
It wasn't for
cahoots? Was
me.
it like an old high school friend or something?
I,
Like,
you know what? I have no idea.
damn.
It was I don't know, man. So, but they pay her because they're the ones that have the supervision, so they have to pay for it. Um, but yeah, all these reports started coming out, and the judge was saying like pretty much like, well, you might have to hire an attorney, and
Yeah.
I did. I had to hire one, and it was because of the my attorney. Um, we ended up were able to get another supervised monitor and show that that this of the original one was falsifying and saying things that were false,
Hmm.
and um, that I wasn't the problem. So,
Yeah.
but it wasn't until I got the attorney, and
No,
then
that's an important takeaway from that though, is that
yeah,
your ex can definitely say things that are not true in
yeah,
order to try to maintain leverage or gain
yeah,
leverage. If they
yeah,
feel like they're losing, they feel like they're slipping,
yeah,
they'll fucking lie. They
yeah.
will. And it's important to not respond emotionally, respond logically, and just eventually the
It's
truth does come out, dude.
it's
Like
it's
one way
hard.
or another, it
Yeah,
does. Oh
it
yeah, it's
is
hard.
it is hard
But
to not respond. It takes a lot of patience, and
oh yeah.
it really tested me because like, man, I went home so many times just like just drained. Like it's emotionally overwhelming,
Yep.
and to the point where like I don't even know how to explain it. Like you just like you have like nothing left. It just breaks you. Like you
Yep.
give up. Like, I've given up at times. Like I'm done. I give up. Like just you know. But then you don't. You go back and cool things off and come back at it logically and reset yourself. Go again.
No, 100%.
Yeah. But then, yeah, in that aspect, like I had to, jump ship from doing it myself to I had to hire an attorney. and we had the attorney for like another 6 months. I had for 6 months,
Hmm.
and then finally that 6 months, that the last hearing, we had gone to like 4 hearings in 6 months, 4 different times. It was a lot in one year. Like four different. That was 4 different times with the attorney. Without the attorney, part of that it was like 2 or 3 times. So we went like
Wow.
7 times within a year, in one year.
It's nerve wracking, man.
Yeah,
Because every time you're going in thinking this might change my entire life, like up until going to court again, but
yeah,
a giant pivotal moment. Like,
yeah, yeah. Yeah. That was a hard year. That was a pretty rough one. Um,
yeah.
but after that, things kind of started to smooth over. Um, you know, had a, kind of like a schedule that was set, and kind of started to get things put in place.
Mhm.
And then it, like a couple years later, pandemic hit, and courts were backed up and pretty much just restarted again.
Yeah.
Just the
God.
same thing restarted again. So
Yeah. I
um,
actually celebrate my custody anniversary. I'm
yeah,
like, that's when it was over. Happy custody anniversary to me.
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
and the goal is with this stuff is not to. Nobody wins, honestly. Like you might think you win, you get what you want,
well, it's
but
about the kids, though.
at the same time, I've done it where like, oh my gosh, like I'm done. Like I not got what I wanted, but like finally got like what is needed for what's best for my kid. And I've seen my kid, and I've seen the hurt in him, and like there's no winning. Like regardless, it's. I mean, it's. I know I'm doing what's best for him, but they're really like he is also losing, and it's not because of him. It's not because of me. Um, it's because of the situation,
No, absolutely.
and that's just kind of what the situation is.
It's a negotiated lose, is what it is.
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
yeah, it is. It is. It's the best of the worst options, honestly.
Yep.
I mean, obviously, best option for me would be to have both, um, parents equal time and healthy
Yep.
and cohesive and working together. That is my goal. Um, so and that's hopefully should be the goal for all of you. Um, hopefully that's maybe you're not at that point right now, um, but strive for it. Even if
Yep.
it's I know mine is a very difficult one. I still back in my head, bottom of my heart, still hope that one day, I'm not gonna keep my hopes up or wait around for it, but I do hope that one day that does happen. You know,
Yep.
so
But at the same time, like having a child with somebody is not enough reason to stay with them if it's not good. Like if it's like if it's affecting mental health,
yeah,
stability, being able to go to work, having a home, like stability, like,
yeah,
eventually, you know,
yeah. You're putting your kids through the
yeah, and the
through the
kids are along for
toxic
the ride too.
through the toxicity of of both of your relationship.
Yeah.
And sometimes even just taking a step back, just take some time, separate for a while.
Mhm.
Even if you want to stay with each other, separate, figure out how to communicate, how to work together. If you can't, if you guys are that incompatible, then yeah, you're gonna have to go down this route.
Yeah. One important thing I want to mention during custody: document, document, document. That is
Yes, yeah,
that is
that
the
is the
way.
biggest one
Yep.
for
So,
everybody for documentation
um,
because you don't know what you'll end up having to have, and there
yeah,
is a
and
way out.
there can be he said she said stuff, and you can have something as simple as a documented text conversation that can completely, bring truth to that.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
for the most part, they're not gonna. The course not gonna
So,
care about stupid little conversations or cussing somebody out. It's gonna be more serious stuff.
yeah.
If you're
Um,
taking text stuff, you're gonna have to really cut stuff down and what's important. You need to obviously have enough in there to give context, and you're gonna have to write a summary to what you're writing. You just send text out there. You're not
so
gonna.
with that though, it wasn't a thing when I went through my custody, but there's a app that a lot of courts will use that you
Talking
communicate.
talking
Yeah.
parents.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a
Yep.
great
And
one.
it's like it's credible, like it's
Yep.
monitored by the court system. It's like admissible in court.
Yeah.
Like do all your
Yeah.
like negotiating, trade-offs, communication, do it through that.
Yeah.
And you know,
It
if they
it
try to
does
get
help.
nasty through that, then it's on them. But
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. I've had a couple come through nasty on that. I'm like, yeah, this just gets shows right to the court, and
yeah,
you know, it's easy. It makes things easier. I know it makes things more difficult. Makes things harder to go through that app. It is kind of a nuisance and annoying. But if it's at the point where you guys can't communicate, you can't talk over the phone, and there's no trust to be able to, you know, communicate over the phone where there's no documentation, or text, it just starts becoming too contentious where like you need more space, like an email or talking parents.
yeah. It's a
That's where
healthy
you,
boundary.
yeah, it's a healthy boundary, and it does work. It and it what it also does too. What you don't realize over time, it gives a lot of space to cool off. It gives a lot of space to cool off for both of you, and in hopes, you know, hopefully you guys can come back together and like, you know what, I want you want a better communication, so now you got to figure out how you guys can do that. You
Mhm.
move, you know, take steps forward from talking parents maybe to email to text, you know, here and there, and then you guys are talking, you know, you know, over the phone or you know face to face or however that works, you know, because it's there's steps, man. I've been where I haven't talked to them, communicated with them, and heard their voice in 6 months or a year because we're communicating only through talking parents or email.
Yeah. And that's
And
tough, man. That separation anxiety and everything, it's really tough.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah, yeah. Document everything, text, and you can and make a file. You know, you can get there's apps and there's different ways you can transfer over like iPhone and Android over to like a PDF and
Mhm.
make a whole folder of everything. And just so you have it, you know, just so you have it there, just in case something happens. It's a
Yeah.
good safeguard, and you have all that stuff, emails, pictures, voicemails. Just throw them all in there, and
Yeah.
if
And it
just
sucks, man. Like we said, it is a microscope on everything.
yeah,
And you know, as soon as you bring in those third parties, like your what was your little private like world,
you're
it
opening it up.
it
Yeah,
gets opened up to
yeah,
everybody, and you know,
yeah,
it sucks. But
yeah. It does. Yeah, and yeah, like we said from the beginning, you're gonna have to clean house once this process start. Clean house,
yeah,
start making big changes. Cut the drinking. You know, smoking. If you smoke weed, yeah, I know it's legal, but you want to show personal responsibility, so cut it
hmm,
out for a bit. And
yep,
when the time comes, when things settle out, and you know, and you're responsible, you know, then bring that back in. You know, when your kids aren't around, you know, because they want to see responsible parents and people doing what's best for the kids, and that is something you're gonna have to sacrifice. You know,
absolutely. Another
it's
one is I didn't date during my custody battle, so
yeah, we talked about that one.
because
Yeah, that's a big one. I wouldn't. It's just to be a distraction, and
there's multiple reasons not to.
and we're saying don't go out and start dating. Like, don't go on a dating app while you're doing this. Don't
Don't
go
at
on
all,
dates and
bro.
bring in.
Just don't at
If you're
all.
already dating somebody and this now you're going through the court process, like say, you know, it's just you know, there's different ways that could happen. You know, you gotta
Yeah,
separate
if
it.
you're confident that they're gonna want to stick it out with you during your trying time, then
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
But it is really setting yourself up on a rocky road. Like,
yeah,
because if that fails too, you've also got the emotional like torment of that too.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah. It is. Yeah. I mean, obviously, the more support you have, the better. You know, if they're there to
hmm,
support you, yeah. You know, keep
yeah,
keep
man, keep your circle tight and just you know only keep the people that you know are having your back.
yeah, giving that support. You're gonna need it. Like you're gonna need it a lot more, and you're gonna need to talk to your friends, your family, therapists.
Yeah, get into counseling, dude. That's another one.
Yeah,
Like,
get counseling.
so
Do the parenting classes.
I didn't during then. I did like right after. Like as soon
Yeah,
as custody was over, I got into counseling.
yeah, that's right.
So
Yeah, I didn't do shit. I just did the guy thing, like you know, fuck
brush it off. Yeah.
that.
Bottle it down. Just
Bottle it in,
bottle it
push it all the way down there,
down.
and then get another bottle and start drinking.
Yeah,
You
buddy.
know, and that's just what I did, and I
Yeah.
didn't know how to handle things. Um, and that's why I actually drank more, because I didn't know how to handle those things, and learning how to handle that stuff and take care of it like made me not want to drink anymore. It's like, yeah, this sucks. It's gross.
Yep.
You know. Yeah, that's a I feel like that's a good overview of kind of what to expect in the very beginning.
Hmm.
There's a lot more to
Oh,
this.
tons, dude.
We'll go
You're
through.
looking at like child support, alimony, like
Yeah,
renegotiating, like going back
yeah,
into
yeah,
parenting. Like,
yeah.
yeah, it's
Renegotiate say if you got a new job or you're gonna move, you're gonna have to
yep.
change
What is it
stuff
like
up.
70 miles away, 65 miles away? You need court clearance to be able to do it.
Yeah,
Like if you're
well, every
sharing,
every
yeah.
county is gonna be different. Um, I know down here ours is like within the county. Can't leave San Diego County with your kids without like a notice, like 24-hour notice, and the
Like at
parent
all or moving
like leave.
at all. What the
Yeah,
fuck? No,
yeah.
me it's just like move. You can't. I can't just pick up and move wherever I
Yeah.
want. Like,
Here
but
it's I think you have to give a 45-day notice for a
mhm.
move, and then if the other parent agrees, then it's okay. But if
Yeah,
not, then you guys will go to court.
yeah,
If you're gonna move with the child, you can move yourself without them. But yeah,
yeah.
if you say if I want to take um say if somebody, they have, 50-50 custody, and they want to take their kid to Disneyland, but the other parent who wants to be an asshole and say like, no, you can't leave the county because Disneyland's in Orange County, not in San Diego County.
Man,
They can, because that's usually how it's written up, unless they have it stipulated in their agreement, their custody agreement, that it's fine
mm,
to go like in certain areas. So
yeah,
there's a lot to this, and we'll go through that too. Some of those things, you know, in the next episode.
absolutely. I think next episode, let's just talk about like basically just like what happens after trial because it like it's
At
a
the
relief,
hearings, yeah,
but it doesn't stop. Like you
yeah,
still have to co-parent. You're probably gonna have some like bad vibes after. Like,
yeah. There's a whole nother like emotional and
yeah,
mental and psychological part outside of just the court part. So we'll
hmm,
get into that. This is be probably a big like series of episodes with this. A couple at least.
yeah, it's can of worms, man.
Yeah, and
If
we're
you
here
guys
to help.
haven't yet,
Yeah,
yeah,
this is the
definitely.
thing is
So
we're here to help you guys. Um, if you have any questions or want to reach out, just need somebody to talk to. We know that this is an extremely overwhelming, difficult time to say the least. If you, I know Eric and I were talking about this. Like, if you like need immediate help, call the crisis line.
mhm.
It will help.
Yeah, we
Um,
are going to have an episode on self-ending. We're going to not, I mean, we'll be proper about it, not get shadow banned or anything, but
yeah,
no, we do need to cover it because that is a giant factor. Like there's a lot of guys who will, take the easy way out during this trying time. A lot of it has to do with breakups, custody, being alienated, all of it. Like it is a serious thing.
yeah. The suicide rate for men is very high, and um, you know, this part of these hearings and custody issues and alienation does have a big contributing factor
Hmm.
to some of those. We'll bring some numbers with that and see. I want to actually look up actual um, numbers for that, but I know the
Yeah. We'll
suicide
bring in
rate's
statistics, not
huge.
talk out of our ass. I like it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, that's it for today, and yeah, we'll see you guys next week.
All right.